Hello everybody, welcome back finally. There is nothing to do right now except being live here. So at least for 2 hours I'm gonna be live continuously, we'll be getting the things done. And this is how things are gonna be going on. And there are gonna be few things, that is a few people asked me to turn the chats on. So for some time I'm gonna be, chats are mainly gonna be on, uh, at least for the coming few days. And after that it will be as usual, like turning it off. What else? Just a minute. To stop, disable this. Oh, hi. I can't read it well, but okay, let me have a look at the chat. Good to see you guys here. Finally I thought of turning the chat on. Just a minute. I should be able to. Why can't I? Yeah. Charit Singh, good to see you, bro, here. How are you doing? So now at least I can have a look at the chats too. Nothing could be better than this. Just trying to get the setup ready. Nothing else. Just give me a sec. And of course, this live is gonna be a bit long, at least for 2 hours, or it could be even more than that. It doesn't really matter. We have to get many things done. And if I actually want to get those things done, I need to be live more. Come on, yaar. I should be able to do it. Okay, I think this much should be fine. Come on, let's get started. As for the chats, they're gonna be on. I hope you guys are doing great. And here we are. We will continue with this thing. The thing is that the error we were facing, that was mainly because of being on the development mode. And then I productionized my Next.js app in the Kubernetes cluster. And then the error that I was getting, stopped getting that, as simple as that. So coming back to this Docker file over here, I was just simply testing this whether it still works in the development mode or not, but it doesn't work. So that simply means if you are deploying your Next.js app, so you had better just simply productionize that. Productionize in the sense, just build the image and start running that. So this way everything's gonna be alright. And I didn't check one thing, hopefully I'm audible, am I or not? Let me check this. Yeah, I am audible. Okay, so this thing is done, and by the way, these are the two-stage build and building Docker file code. And apart from this particular thing, there's nothing that I need to worry about. Few things. Let me check whether it's actually working right now or not. Inside a reverse proxy, what am I using? First of all, few things that I need to change. In the reverse proxy, what am I doing? I'm using this HTTP. This is fine. No need to change anything over here. I need to use config files. That simply means in my Next.js project I'm using the environment variables. Like I'm actually hard coding the values that I have to avoid somehow. But before that, over here I'm using version 3. Which version should I be using? Don't know. Docker images. So I have four versions right now, and the third one is the one that I actually need. The fourth one has the development mode, development code, and the third one has the production ready code. As simple as that. Later I will be creating a new versions as well. So if I go to my, close everything first of all. There are many things, and yeah. So coming back to this one, if I go to http /k8h frontend dot coding the code dot site. So this is the front end. This is working. I can even add the more values over here, and definitely the names are gonna be added just like that. Again, there is no delete functionality and all, but ultimately what is happening, I'm actually able to talk to the database and able to get the result. What else could be better than this? Alrighty then, this much we've done. And apart from this particular thing, what am I gonna be focusing on? The next thing is that I'm gonna be trying this HTTPS over here. So HTTPS /h, and this works too. So it doesn't matter which one you use, HTTPS and HTTP, both of them work here. I can do one thing inside my load balancer, the load balancer that I actually have. If I click on manage listeners on AWS, of course, and I can actually stop this TCP listener here, so that I only get HTTPS request. I don't accept the HTTP request, so I can remove it from here. and once removed, save the changes. And once it is saved, right now if I try to make HTTP request, it should be failing. I'm still getting that. Why? I'm making the HTTP request from here, and if I make the HTTP :k8h backend dot coding the code dot site/users. Yeah, this is where I'm not getting the error, like I'm not getting the result. How about here, reload the page? Okay, now I'm not getting the result. That simply means HTTP requests are not allowed, so using them I cannot really get any result. Only HTTPS requests are allowed, so HTTPS. And if you are actually wondering what this is, so this is all about Kubernetes section and all. And if you don't have any information about Kubernetes, so it's gonna be hard to understand. If you wanna still have a look exactly what I'm doing and all, so you can just simply watch. Alrighty then, and if I just simply replace it with the HTTPS right now, then I should definitely be getting the result. So on HTTPS I'm getting the result. If I make it HTTP again, there is no result as such. Great job. So this particular thing is done. And the last thing that I want to do, so what am I doing inside my Next.js application right now? Inside my Next.js application, app and components, right here, I have hard coded the URL of the backend over here. And what I want to do, I don't want to hard code the URL. Rather, I want to keep the URL inside a config file. Okay. In that case, how am I gonna be doing it? Keeping something inside config file, how about this? If I directly run this front end, will it work? Definitely, there is high possibility for this. So cd ls cd front end, and if I run the front end directly, npm run dev, sorry, not npm run dev, one dev, so it should be running fine. Let me go to localhost 3000. So it will compile this stuff and all, but at the end of the day, it should work. Yeah, it's working. I can add even more names here, and that's added at the end of the day. So it is working this way. What is the next thing? The next thing is that I don't want to keep it like this. Rather, I want to add the backend URL. So instead of hard coding the backend URL here, the backend URL can actually be anything over the time. So I should be changing that. So for changing it, let me remove it from here, rather everything. And this should be somewhat like this. And process.env dot backend URL. Let's see. Backend URL. And the thing is that I have to somehow pass the variables inside the Kubernetes machine. So that simply means I will have to use config map or secret. There are two things. So backend URL / users. So this is how it's gonna be going on. But locally I can do one thing. I can just simply export the environment variables. Let's see exactly how I'm gonna be doing that. And apart from this particular, one thing is clear. If I directly use .env file inside this, .env file, I mean if I have a .env file over here, and if I say that I'm gonna be having backend URL like this, and that's gonna be https :k8h backend dot coding the code dot site, it will not work because in Next.js they are not gonna be directly accessible. That simply means this particular environment variable will be accessible on the server side, on the server side, but on the client side it will not be accessible. For that thing you will have to make it a next public, if I'm not wrong. So if you actually next public, and this way it's gonna be accessible. But again, all these things I have to try it right here, and this thing is gonna be done. Anything else, I'm gonna be copying this thing from here, and I'm gonna be pasting it inside the another one over here. Let me get rid of this, and same thing needs to be pasted here as well. Alrighty, this much we have done, and we have to somehow get the backend URL. The question is, am I gonna be getting that or not? I already have environment variable here, that's right, and the chances are that I'm not gonna be getting that. But let's see. Localhost 3000. Reload the page. Name Vipendra. This is the default name that I have. Default name in the sense it is already saying that undefined end users 404 not found. And as for that Vipendra, that is the default name that I have added there by default. So that simply means when I'm actually getting the users at that time, if you actually have a look over here, so where is the state? I'm maintaining the state over here. Inside this I have added this name by default, and because of that thing I'm just simply getting it there. Pretty simple stuff. Now if I want to make that accessible, then what can I do? That's one way that if I want that to be accessible, so when I'm running one dev, so over here there are three ways actually what I have in my mind. The first way is that if you want the environment variable directly, so whichever command you are running, inside that just simply add backend. I hope I will be getting backend URL, and that's gonna be https://k8h backend.coding.code.site. This should work. This backend URL will be accessible inside when you run that particular command, and ultimately this will be accessible inside the environment variables. Let's see. One dev. So it is just simply saying that backend URL is gonna be this. It has started running. Let me check whether I'm getting the result or not. Turns out I'm not. Still undefined. Is it not available like this? Backend URL. This. Am I missing something? https://k8h, that simply means it is not available. How about exporting it from here? Export this. Probably definitely missing something. Never mind. Let's say yeah. So let me do one thing. I need to directly export it from here only. So first of all, export backend URL just like this. Once it export is not found. Interesting. Just like this, export it. Once it is exported, it is gonna be available in this particular terminal, right? And now whenever I'm gonna be running one dev, it should not be giving me that error. It is still giving me that error. Congratulations. Why is that so? I am definitely missing something now. Usually it works. Forget about this right now. Forget about this env file as well. Suppose I don't have, and right now I want to export the backend URL like this. Once this backend URL is actually exported, if I copy this thing from here, and if I come back here in the client components, I think directly on the server side it is accessible this way, but on the client side it is not, and that's the same problem that I'm facing right now. Let's try one more time. And on the client side it is not gonna be accessible directly, undefined. So in that case I can do one more thing, and that is instead of exporting backend URL, I'm gonna be exporting next to public backend URL. Okay, it's exported. Now what will I be doing? Over here, next public backend URL, I'm gonna be having it here, and same is gonna be replaced here as well. Let's try this thing out now. Bundle. This works. So ultimately, if you want to export something directly on the front end side, at that time you need to use next and public anyhow in Next.js, and then only it's gonna be working. In React.js you need to use something called import.meta.env. something, but in Next.js it works like this. So if I go to the localhost 3000 Now I'm gonna be getting the results and all. So it works. Great job. So this is the first way. And the another way was that I was trying to edit there. Let's see if that works or not. If I just close the terminal right now and reopen, spin up the another terminal, and if I run bundev ls cd frontend npm bundev, just like this. So this is running right now. It is still giving me undefined, simply because once the terminal got closed, the environment variables got removed. So ultimately there are no environment variables, and if I export the environment variable again, that will be accessible over here. This is the first thing. The another thing is that if I actually want, if I don't want to export the variable, so I can say one thing, that when I'm actually running it, I think this should definitely be working. Last time I did not use next, so let me use next this time. Next public and backend URL, and that's gonna be https and k8h backend dot coding the code dot site. As simple as that. Should be working. Not sure, but worth giving a try. And turns out it is working. The last time it did not work because I just used the backend URL. Next public backend URL, it makes sure that this particular environment variable is actually accessible, and using next public backend URL I will be able to access that. That simply means if I go here, I'm gonna be getting the result as expected. I can even just save the values and all, and this will work. Okay, what is the next thing that I can do here? There are two ways. We have gone through both the ways. So let's simply remove it from here. The last way is that use the environment variable directly. So two ways for accessing the .env. So two ways for accessing the environment variables, we have already gone through them, and this is gonna be the last one. So if I just simply try to run this, it should also be working. At least that's what I expect it to be doing. Yeah, it is doing the job. So ultimately we are able to get the result. Well, nothing could be better than this. Control W. Okay, something like this. And apart from this particular thing, just a minute, give me a second. Alrighty, so coming back to this one, what is the next thing that we have to do? The next thing that let's forget about this one. Let me keep it here. And environment variable is working right now. We are able to get the environment variable. We are able to place it here. The next challenge is, first of all, I'm gonna be containerizing this. So I'm gonna be building the image, and once the image is built, that's gonna be no environment variable. That simply means what I have to do, whenever I'm building the image, so inside the front end, I'm building the image using this Docker file. Whenever I'm building the image, so I have to make sure that I'm ignoring node modules, Docker file, .next, .env as well, so that these environment variables don't get built in with the image. So this is how I'm gonna be ignoring everything. I'm gonna be ignoring Docker ignore as well, but mostly that's not added. So this much we have done. Okay, now I'm gonna be building this. So building is not the problem. The question is, how will I be exposing it to the image? Let's see. First of all, let's build it. So ls, clear it first of all, and over here I have to build the image. So Docker images, how many images I have? These are the images. The last version is the 4. Let me create the new version, and that's gonna be the 5th one. So Control Shift C, Docker build, and not namespace, actually the tag is gonna be the 5th one, and it has to select everything from the current directory. So this way image is going to be built. Image is built. Now whenever I'm running it, I will have to pass it. I will even run the image directly on my local container as well, and after that I'm gonna be running it, of course, inside the Kubernetes. So should not be taking a lot of time. It is just simply copying the node modules and all. That's gonna be done quite quick, and then that's it. Okay, how long is it gonna be taking? Never mind, let's simply wait. What else? And inside to do what I had, just use the backend service and front end service. This is still something that we have to go through, but okay, we will be going through it very soon. So unpacking the Docker IO unstoppable, that's done. The next thing is that I already have the image that I created right now. That is the 5th version that I have. If I try to run this, Docker run port number 3000 by 3000, and in the detached mode the image is gonna be this. Will this be working? Not really. So if I how can I Docker process status, this one is running. Docker logs, I wanna check the logs of this one. Enter. So it has started. Let's see whether I'm getting the result here or not. And if I actually have a in the follow mode, yeah, that's fine. If I send the request, reload it, it is just simply saying that http localhost 3000 undefined /users. So there is no right backend URL, and because of that thing it is just simply giving me the error. Okay, so what is the next thing? The next thing is that passing the backend URL somehow. Let's simply get it done, and then I'm gonna be talking about the config maps and all. Alrighty, so in here I can even pass the value of the backend URL directly from here, can't I? That is inside environment variable I want to pass. Next to public backend URL, and that's gonna be https kth backend dot coding the code dot site. That's it. Let's simply enter. And yeah, there is a problem. Docker process status, Docker kill, and I'm gonna be killing this particular image that was running, and I can even remove that. So let me just simply remove it too, and after that I'm gonna be running the same command. Docker process status, Docker logs. I'm gonna be checking the logs of this particular process that's running right now. So it has started. Great. If I go here, reload the page, still undefined. This should not be the case. I am passing the environment variable here. So this is how it was passed. So environment variable, next public backend URL, backend backend URL, https kth backend backend coding the code dot site. So this is what I passed. The question is, if I passed this, why is it not working as expected? Reload it. It is still saying that this is the problem. How can I check that it is getting the right environment variable? Passing the environment variable from here. Next, am I missing something? How to pass the environment variables with docker run command. Coming back to this one. Oh, literally reload it. Yeah, that's fine. So environment variable, so sudo docker run environment variable. This is how you can just simply pass. So Postgres env. So ultimately they can be passed directly like this, and as they can be passed directly, that's what I'm trying to do here. So docker run port 3000, environment is gonna be next to public backend URL, that's the thing that I'm sending from here, and I'm unable to access that. Let me do There is one more problem. Definitely it is being sent, but the thing is that it is not being accessible for some reason. So let me directly take the help of AI over here. Do not really want to log a lot of things here. Will this work for Next.js frontend? And short answer, yes, it will run, but there is one important condition. Docker run next public this. When will this work? It works only your app was built correctly inside image. .next exists, burn run build was executed. Huh? You used the environment variable during build or run time properly. Important. Next public and everything variables behave like this. Build time embedded into JS bundle. Runtime not dynamically injected by default. So hidden problem, very important. You passed this, but if your image was built like burn run build without the environment variables, then your frontend already has next public backend URL undefined. Really? Okay. So your command may not work as expected, even though the container runs frontend might still call wrong backend URL. Okay. So correct approach, option 1. Pass the environment variable during build time. So argument next public URL. env environment variable is gonna be equals to this one. $next public URL. Then in the build time, build argument you will have to provide, and that's gonna be this. So you have to make sure that you are adding the next public backend URL here, and environment is gonna be equals to this. It will be set to that, and whenever you are running, you will be passing the value of this that will be automatically added over here. Interesting. Option 2, runtime config were around. So docker execute container ssh, and then echo $this backend URL, and if printed env exists but still may not be used by the front end. Let's see whether this actually exists or not. In that case, docker process status, this is the one. Docker execute in the interactive mode. Well, this is really bad. Docker execute in the interactive mode. This is the image that I have. Ultimately container that is running, and ssh ls, and $next to, I have to echo that. So echo $next. Can I make it a bit bigger? Yeah, that's better. Public, and $next public. What can I do? Backend URL. This will make sure that I have it or not. And it turns out I do have the URL on the front end side. Such a good command that I learned. But the thing is that even if I have it, it is not being used. As simple as that. Exit. So, but it still may not be used by the front end. How to verify this? So request HTTPS. Then if I go to that localhost 3000, it is definitely not being used, and I'm getting these errors. So what is the next thing? The next thing is that adding the argument environment variable, and then giving the environment variables. What I mean, whenever I'm building the image, again this can be done later, but definitely something worth keeping in mind, that whenever I'm building this npm run build, before that argument name is gonna be next public, actually next public backend URL. This is gonna be the argument. What is gonna be the environment variable for this? That's gonna be key is gonna be again the same, next public backend URL, and value is gonna be $next public backend URL, and hopefully this is gonna be fine. I think it can be done directly as well, just like this. But if it works like this, so nothing could be better than this as well. So the image name is image number 5. I will have to build another image for this particular feature functionality, and I'll have to give it the build environments, like build arguments, ultimately something like this. So I'll have to give it the build arguments, and after that it will sort of start working. Oh, not only that, build argument next to this, I have to give it the build argument while building the image. So ultimately inside the image, this not the best way actually. If you are actually passing this inside the image directly, how can it be the best way to just simply add? But let me do it. Let me create version number 6. Version number 5 contains the right code that will be used inside Kubernetes. So if I say docker images, so this one contains the right one for the Kubernetes section. We will be using this, and I'm gonna be creating one more version right here. That's gonna be docker build, and tag is gonna be the 6th right now. And let's not worry about this. Let me just simply have front end here. That would even be better, because this is just for the checking purpose. So front end is just the tag, and once I have the tag, everything, and I'm gonna be passing one more value over here, that is build arguments. That's what it is asking me to do, right? So I can just simply pass the build argument. So, oh hi Zohab, just because of you I turned the chats on, and here you are. How are you? Build long time no see. Yeah, it's been really long time. I've been going live, but the thing is that I haven't been turning it, the chats on and all. So recently it's been just like that. How's your work going on? Next. Next public backend URL, that's gonna be http:// last time you learning Next.js. Last time I was learning Next.js. What is the progress? I know Next.js now. Last time I was learning it. By now I have built some projects using Next.js, and even I have built a clone of Google Meet. That is almost at the end. So yeah, quite good using Next.js. I have the confidence that I am good at it. So this thing is done. Docker build argument next public URL kth, and what backend dot coding the code dot site. This should be working. Let's simply run this. So ultimately image is going to be built, and once image is built, that image will automatically contain the URL as well. You also, what does that mean? You also look different than before. I had got myself shaved like recently, and then yeah, the other okay, it could be people change, so have I. Like look wise, I even got myself shaved recently. How about you? What are you doing nowadays? How is the work going on? Okay, this particular thing is done. Now if I try to run this image, docker images, docker run, front end in the detached mode, but I want to run front end. That should be fine. Oh no, what is the problem? Docker process status, that's already one. Docker kill. Have you completed Harkirat cohort? This section is going on. Full stack is done. This DevOps part is remaining. I'm going through the Kubernetes sections right now. So yeah, whatever I'm going through it, all these things are being covered. So Kubernetes is going on nowadays. Hopefully it's gonna be done. It's gonna take 1 more month. So if I keep learning on a daily basis, if I keep giving my best, So within a month, after a month, it is gonna be like 80%. Cannot say. It will take one more month. Then I can say that it is almost done. Before that, can't really say anything. Docker run, can't say 80%. DevOps part is going on. DevOps part is around 40, 45 to 50% is done. DevOps part. That means that is also remaining. Docker run front end. Docker process status. Docker log. As per the number of videos I told you, like it will take one more month if I watch a video daily. So yeah, there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to cover, but okay. I'm determined to just simply cover it within a month. The main focus is on the DevOps right now. So let's see how it's gonna be going on. So Docker log, so they did this. And let's check this thing out. Reload it. And here we are. It is we are getting the result. That simply means it is accessible. This is something that I would like to save in my notes as well. So I guess you are almost done with your learning. Am I done? Don't know. I am not done actually. I have a lot of plans. Plans for learning many things. I don't have plans for doing the job. I will have plans like once this whole challenge gets completed, but I definitely have a lot of plans to learn lots of things. Coming back to this links, Docker image. Let's simply have it here. This is something interesting, and that's gonna be ts2, and that's gonna be build arguments while building the image, Docker image. Thanks to Notion, yaar, I can really make such good notes. I'm proud of my notes actually. If I get stuck, I can blindly come here and simply get the things done. I keep pasting the things here. Did you use WebRTC in Google Meet clone or the third-party tool? Actually, WebRTC, and that is a peer-to-peer connection. But I actually created many peer connections. So it's like though using WebRTC, you can talk to one person at a time. But once what I have done, that a user will be creating, if there are 3 users, so a user will be creating 3 peer connections so that the user can talk to all those 3 people. So yeah, it is a peer-to-peer connection, but multiple peer-to-peer connections. It does support multiple video calling. And initially I just made a peer-to-peer connection, then I added this feature as well. Took a lot of time, like around a month, to just simply grasp my head around this. Get my head around this word grasp. Build. When I built this, building was done. Oh, hey, where did I build this? I think this is where I built this, and this was the code that was used. Earlier I was thinking like this WebRTC stuff is like such an insane thing, but this is nothing actually. At the end of the day, you have to just simply create the peer connections and what else, nothing. So I was actually kind of curious about this field. Right now I know that. Alright, interesting stuff. So this much we have done. It is definitely working. ls Clio. And now, of course, I am not gonna be doing this thing inside the Kubernetes cluster. So let me get rid of this. This much should be fine. And the image I already have. As I already have the image, the good question is this now. I already have the image. Environment variable, I have to make them accessible. Let's see. I'm gonna be using I don't know whether it's gonna be working or not, but let's give it a try. The thing is that I already have the image, don't I? I have it. So if I go to my ops and what front end right now, the manifest file of the front end, I'm gonna be using the Docker with version 5, and this is where I have to work on this configuration, config map. So ultimately I need to create a config map. What is a config map? It is a file like this. So ultimately config map contains the key value pairs. So this is gonna be the key, this is gonna be the value. It can contain many of them, and you can get the value of key value pairs as environment variables. So what I want, that I'm gonna be creating one more actually. So let me go to the front end only, that would be better. And probably here at the top I have the namespace and all, and here at the top I'm gonna be creating one more for the configuration. So let me see if I can do that today. I can copy and paste the code too, that's not really a big problem, but just a minute, give me a second. Config map is something that I have to go through, right? So first of all, it will have the API version. API version is gonna be v1. API version keeps changing as you just move from one thing to the other. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. Kind is gonna be config map only, and metadata, let's give it some name as well. So the name of this is gonna be name. What should be the name? Front end config. Front end config. This is gonna be the front end config, and it should have some data as well. So data, and data will be the key value pair type. I hope I'm writing it the right way. Oh yeah, coming back to this one. So what am I gonna be having? I'm gonna be having only one thing, that is next app, and I think next public I need to have the URL just like this for the front end part. So I'm gonna be having it like this, and backend URL, and that's gonna key value pairs, and that's gonna be https://k8h backend dot coding the code dot site. By the way, are you still here? Because you talked about third-party tools. I was thinking of exploring media. So that is also, that is because here when you are creating many peer connections, so all the load is on the browser sides. So what I wanted, that I wanted to create a server so that I create a peer connection with the server, and everybody creates peer connections with the server, and server just simply forwards the streams. So server doesn't compile them together, just simply forwards it, and on the browser side I just simply compile the streams and all and do the stuff. So if you are here, so I wanted to explore media, so but right now busy doing these things, so definitely soon I will be exploring too. Next public backend URL, https, this particular thing is done, and once I have gone with this particular thing, anything else that I'm missing here? API, metadata, data, then I can just simply apply it and describe config map, ecom this. Okay, I can just describe this as well. And apart from this particular thing, it's time to just simply use this. The question is, how am I gonna be using this? And using this is pretty simple, like the easiest way. So now whenever I'm gonna be building this particular deployment, and I need it inside this, right? So what I'm gonna say, that bro, name is front, ports environment variable I will have inside this. So .env, ultimately something like this, and if I'm not wrong, ports env. I hope this is the right way. So I will have environment variables, and the name of that environment variable is gonna be, can multiple people join a single meeting, or only 2 people? In mine, many people. But the thing is that 3 people can join, max to max 4 people can join. But if more than that people joins, the whole loads come on the browser, because the structure is like this. If there are 2 people, so 1 peer connection on my side, 1 peer connection on your side, the job is done. If there are 2 people, then 2 peer connections on my side, on my browser, and 2 peer connections on the other browser. Okay, if there are 3 people, then I need 3 peer connections just for myself, 3 peer connections for the other person, and 3 peer connections for the other. So it exponentially increases. So the number of peer connections increase, and because of this thing, browser has to go through a lot of load, and that is why there is something called media soap that is mainly used for creating a backend for that, so that you connect to the backend, don't connect to the people directly, connect to the backend. People will also connect to the backend, and then you guys can just simply share the media streams and all. So this is how it just simply works. But yeah, in my case right now, I can even show you that if you want, many people can connect. So name is the environment variable. Here I was, okay. So name is gonna be what? Name is gonna be, just a minute, inside the config map it's better to just simply name it like this. Next it doesn't really matter what you name it, right? So next public backend URL, I'll just let's simply name it a backend URL, just like this. So this is gonna be the backend URL, HTTPS, all these things. And over here the environment variable name is going to be what? Environment variable name is gonna be next public. Why am I naming it next public? Because in front end side you need it with this name only. So next public and backend URL, this is gonna be the name of the environment variable. What is gonna be the value? By the way, I don't have value, but I will get the value from. So from where will I be getting the value? I'm gonna be getting the value from the config map ref. So config map config map. Did you made this WhatsApp clone? For that thing only I learned web RTC, but that hasn't been done yet. There are a few things that I have to get them. Like I thought of building the WhatsApp using the AI, then I dropped the idea, because if I'm building something using the AI, that doesn't really make any sense. Even I had the whole schema ready. Kind of the project was even started, but most of the time I was taking the help of AI, and then I didn't know the WebRTC as well. So I stopped it there and then never started again. Will definitely do it once I'm done. I have wrapped all these things up. Many things are going on, so it's better to focus on few things at a time. Can't really do everything at the same. So config map and ultimately these projects, whatever I'm thinking, WhatsApp clone or maybe a really big edtech project, they are gonna be the projects for showcasing purpose, because they are gonna be really a big ones. So okay, whenever the right time comes for applying the jobs, I'm gonna be creating them. Config map key ref, just like this. And what is gonna be the name of that? Name of the config map is what? Backend frontend config. Frontend config is the name. And what is the key over there? The key is the backend URL. What is your sleep schedule? Do not ask. The thing is that recently I've been busy just doing some work. Because of that thing, these things could not be done. So right now it doesn't really matter. I am here, I'm working. I'll keep working as long as I feel like working, and then I'll stop. Usually I sleep by 10 or something, so it's not like I'm a late riser or something. Value from but today it's gonna be just like this, just for today. Environment, something is missing here, yeah, just a minute. 3000 port number, environment variable I have here, then the value from. So once I have this, it should be somewhat like this, shouldn't it be? So value from and value from config map ref name is gonna be this and key is gonna be this. Hopefully whatever I've done, what have I done here? Simple. This is the config map that I have created. This is this has this backend URL. Once this has the backend URL, and this config map will be created. That simply means it will have this backend URL over here, and here I'm just using the same config map as the environment variable. So I'm just simply saying that name of the environment variable is this. Alright bro, I will let you code peacefully. I will go. Bye bye, take care. Have a great time ahead and keep coding. Value from config key map ref frontend config, and done. Let's try to do this. So ls and cd, ls cd k apply. Then what do I have to apply? I have to apply the front end part, and manifest.ml. Let's do it. It's going to be configured, created. The config got created and the things got configured. So k get config maps. So I should even be getting that. So front end config, this is the config that just got created right now. I haven't added any namespace, so definitely namespace can actually be added to that, but okay, let's not worry about that. So once the front end is actually created, then that is it. Okay, get pods n, and namespace is gonna be front-end team, and error pulling the image. What am I here? What am I doing? I think I haven't pushed the image to the Docker hub. We'll catch you on tomorrow stream. Definitely, I would love to. hub.docker.com. K-dash frontend. This is the image that I had. I think I have 4 versions over here. I haven't pushed the 5th one. Amazing job. So Docker images, Docker push. I'm gonna be pushing this one. Hope it's not gonna be taking a lot of time. Not taking a lot of time. 172 MB, but the speed is quite good, right? Don't you think so? So this much we have done. So ultimately what config related stuff we have already gone with. This is how we can just simply get different configuration environment variables. Once we have them, even I'm gonna be taking proper I'll be going live on this particular topic properly, exactly how the configs are used and all. But in this particular project I just wanted to use the config as well as the secret, so I'm gonna be using that too. And mainly config maps are used for storing the normal not credentials, not private stuff. Like you can store your port number over here, you can store your some other configuration related stuff that should not be private, like session timeout, max cart items, like cache size, like database, no, not database URL, just like port number. All these things you can just simply save. And there is something called secret that will be used for storing the secret. There is no difference, even that doesn't there is a difference. You just simply convert everything to base 64, but that does not mean that secures that. I will be talking about that. It will be hard to just simply get the things around, but don't worry. Right now it is done. So the next thing is that now we should be starting again. Image pull back off. How can I force to restart again? Image pull back off. I have just it has tried how many times? Okay, get pods and front-end team. That's the same one that I'm using, right? Yeah. Then k logs and log of this one and front-end team. So container front-end, import front-end, this is waiting to start create a container configure. Interesting. Let me apply it again. Okay, apply front-end manifest. Nothing changed if I'm not wrong. Yeah, nothing changed though. That simply means getting the pods, creating the container finally. Creating container config error. No. What is the issue? It's not getting created. Creating container configure. No. So VCWC. So here we are. Error from server bad request container frontend in a pod frontend. This is waiting to start. Creating container config error. So ultimately pull image, pulling is not a problem. Creating container config error. So somewhere here I am facing the issue. So in that case, name next public backend URL value from config map. Am I missing something here? Deployment apps v1 for that's okay. I mean, this should be definitely one over here, and the important thing starts here. So when it comes to this particular stuff here, so I have spec, I have the containers, I have name and all, environment variable I have over here, and just below that the name, that's gonna be the database URL, that's okay. Value from, so value from, I already have config map key ref, config map key ref, I already have it, and the name is gonna be frontend config. So frontend config and key is gonna be backend URL that I specified here at the top. So sort of I have the things. Okay, let me do one thing. I'm gonna be scaling it back to 0, then I'm gonna be scaling up. What is this? Front end, right? So get the name of the front end is front end. Okay, get deployments and front end team. Yeah, that is front end. So in that case, k scale deployment. I'm gonna be scaling front end. It belongs to the namespace that is front end team, and replicas, that's gonna be 0. After that I'm gonna be scaling it back to 1. Let's see what's gonna happen. Not deployments, I actually wanna get the pods. Okay, container, again getting the same error. That simply means, so this is something is missing. Create container config error. So okay, get config. I think config can only be created once. So okay, get config. Config map. Yeah, I think so. Config can only be created once. So that is the main issue here. So I can say just in here inside the front end, right? So config map dot configs or cem.ml, and let me paste it, not this. If I'm not wrong, this is definitely causing the issues. If I cut it from here, let's switch copy.well, and if I paste it here, there should not be problematic thing at all now anymore. So once this is done, cm is here, that's okay, fine. Reverse proxy, let's get rid of this and try this thing out again. ls, by the way, should be working now. It hasn't started creating. How can I force a restart? To force a restart, there's only one way, that set it to 0 first of all, and then set it to back to 1. That's the only way. I mean, there can be other ways as well, and right now try to get the pods. Still create container configurator. Calm down. That was not the problem. Environment variable container config next public frontend config backend URL. The name is next public backend URL. How about if I just simply copy and paste this stuff? So Control C, Control V, and it's going to be sort of like this. Alrighty, so this thing is done, and it's gonna be next public backend URL and value from config maps. What is the name of the config? That is the front-end config. And what I want backend URL. Any problem? Let's try this thing out and see. Coming back to 0, front-end team, nothing is there. Scaling it back to 1, pods. I have to describe it. I'll check the logs. K get logs, K logs, something related to the config. So either from the server not found, pods front end not found in namespace default. Okay, that's fine. If that's not found in the namespace default, then front end team. So either from server or bad request, container front end in pod, this is waiting to start. Create config error is facing. Okay, let's simply describe it for now. Okay, describe this front end team. How can I describe a pod like this? Probably, yeah. So successfully pulling image. So this is where I'm facing the issue. A bit small, quite small. Come on, yaar. Is this gonna be like this only? Okay. By the way, this is where I'm facing the issue. Config map. Wow. Front-end configure. Not found. It is unable to find the front-end configuration. Okay. Config. How should it be made? No, this should be like this only. Config map. So have I done something wrong here? Config map I already have with version 1. Metadata I have name front-end config. It is just unable to find that for some reason. So I have backend URL over here as well. HTTPS ktash backend coding the code.site. I have it here, and even to be precise, docker k get config maps, and I have this front-end config over here. The error that I get over here, that is error config map front-end config not found. So the front-end config that I'm trying to get, that is not found. So what have I named my config here? Front-end config. Let me copy and let me paste it here. That's exactly the same value from this. So in that case, let me give it to the AI and see whether I have some errors or not. Is this right? You are right, but there are two important mistakes here. It will cause the issue. Ports, but your Nest.js app runs on. Okay, that's a this is not for the Next.js, but okay, that's fine. And problem number, environment variable timing, very important. You are doing next public value this sets environment variable at runtime, but Next.js behaves next public everything variables are backed at build time, not runtime. So your container already has a build.js. That bundle already contains old undefined value. This environment variable will not affect the front end code. It will not affect the front end code. Building the image. Okay. So your current setup for this fix. So pass environment variable during Docker build. The same thing I did earlier. Dynamic runtime config. If you want to use a config map, don't use the next everything directly. Instead, create a config.json, fetch at runtime. Server side usage, use environment variable this not client. Problem 3, missing resources. ML front-end config. You didn't define front-end config. So this is how we just simply define that metadata namespace front-end team. It should have the namespace as well. Well, I didn't add that. Let me do that right now. The config map that I create, that should have the namespace as well. This one actually. Come on, something went into my eyes. Oh, sorry, I didn't have a look at the message. Hi. Kushagra, is that the name? Let me know. Srivastav. Yeah, Kushagra Srivastav. How are you doing, bro? Coming back to this one. Namespace. I'm gonna be having the namespace over here, and that's gonna be front end team, and that should be sort of fine. But let's see. ls k apply f front end cm.ml. It's created. That simply means k get config map. I'm gonna be getting it right now. So I have this front end config and config maps that belongs to front end team. Interesting, I'm getting it here again. In that case, this was created 19 seconds ago. This is the different one. So the one that I'm getting, not this one, yeah. The one that I'm getting here, that needs to be deleted. So k delete config map. I'm gonna be deleting front end config. That's deleted. So right now if I try to get the config, so I'm gonna be getting only 2. If I add the namespace front end team, I'm gonna be getting the front end config right now. That okay, that makes sense. Okay, what is the next thing that I can do? The next thing is that Next.js doesn't get the environment variables on the runtime. That simply means on build time you will have to pass. And that's right too. What is the next thing? Oh, come on, yaar. What is the best way to pass the environment variables in Next.js application if that is actually being run inside the Kubernetes cluster? And the another thing is that if I'm actually passing the environment variables directly during the build time, is that actually a good way? Like all the environment variables are going to be exposed. That simply means some way or the other there should be a way so that I can just simply make the environment variables available and they can be used directly on runtime or something. Is there any another way except passing them during build time or something? Let's see. This is exactly the point where the most people get confused. I don't want to know about the most people. Next.js has two types of environment variables: public public API and the private database URL. Okay, so browser plus client build time, server only run time. Interesting. So for the browser only, they need to be passed during the build time. That does make sense. And wow, that's amazing actually. And your connection concern is correct. If I pass at a build time, are they exposed? Yes, anything starting with the next public is embedded into JS bundle, visible in browser DevTools, not secure. So what is the best rule? Never put secrets in next public. First of all, this use runtime environment only for the server side logic. Use runtime environment only for the server side logic. Got it? And best practice split front-end client no secrets, only public URLs. Backend API whole secrets, reads runtime environment from the Kubernetes. Lovely. But your real question: can I pass at environment? Can I pass environment at runtime for front-end? Yes, but not directly using this. So solution: runtime config via API based. So create API route. So app API config route.ts. And this uses runtime environment from Kubernetes. Get okay process.env.backend URL. Use it on front end. Oi, config your backend URL. App API, I mean, there is some way around this as well, like it can be used some way or the other. So what you are gonna be doing? That's insane. The thing is that server can get the access of your environment variables on runtime. So what you are doing, you are actually creating a route, and once the route is created, then you are actually making a request to that particular route. And once the request is made to that particular route, you are gonna be getting the first of all environment variable. Once you got the environment variable, you are using the environment variable to send the another request. This is such a crazy way, but okay, never mind. Good stuff. Create a config map. Config.json. This is created. Serve it via nginx or static. So fetch configure. Alrighty, quite enough for now. And what is the next thing that we have to do? First of all, the environment variable, whatever, that needs to be added. I mean, the public environment variables or public, kind of environment variables, they need to be added while building the image. That simply means Docker images. I have 5 versions over here. Now I have to build the image, and while building the image, I have to pass the values over there. That is a must to do things. Coming back to this one, I added it here as well. Build build arguments while building the Docker image. Build arguments while building the Docker image. That's fine, and this way you can just simply get the things done. Let me just simply cut it from here. I'm gonna be adding this again, or even I can just add it. It's better to just simply write the things on our own. And coming back to this one, if I go to the front end, Docker file here, before even building this, I'm gonna be saying argument name is gonna be what? Next publics are gonna be public environment variables are gonna be publicly available. So next public, and what backend URL just like this. And then there are gonna be environment variable, and the value is gonna be next public backend URL, and the value is gonna be dollar next public backend URL, just like this. So this is how it's gonna be going on. This environment variable is going to be exposed. Now this actually happens on the build time. So this is the argument that I have, and I have to just simply pass this build argument, and whenever this is going to be built, at the time this environment variable will be available directly over there. As simple as that. Let's try to do that. So docker build, the tag is gonna be what? This time the tag should actually be, let me copy it from here. The tag should be 6 actually. Everything from the current directory, and I have to pass the build arguments as well. So build args, I hope this is how I just simply pass them. Let me see how it is passed. So build args are passed like this. Yeah, that's right. So next, that's fine. Next, public backend URL, I'm building it, or I can even name it backend URL, that doesn't really matter. Backend URL, and mainly should be exposed like this, right? But that is for the public one. So let's add the value of next over here. So next public backend URL, that's gonna be equals to https :/ch and backend dot coding the code dot site. Pretty simple stuff. So docker build, build arguments, next public backend URL https backend dot coding the code dot site. The tag name is gonna be unstoppable the coder, whatever, all these things. Let's simply write. Okay, what is the problem? Build args, arg, there should be arg. I can directly reach here. Yeah, get rid of this. Done. Failed to build, failed to docker file. No such file or directory exists. Well, I'm inside the wrong dir right now. lscd frontend. Right again. No. Wow, so fast. Docker push. This is gonna be the 6th one, right? Yeah, that's the one I built. So docker push, it is going to be pushed there, and once it is actually pushed, then I should be able to see the result. Let's see how it's gonna be going on. And overall, then I can consider it done. There are a few more things that I have to do. I have to expose it on locally as well. Right now, everything is running on the Kubernetes machine on EKS, not AKS. Hopefully, it's gonna be done quite soon. And the next goal is gonna be this. Like, I have this running inside the Kubernetes cluster on AWS. How about running the same thing inside your local machine, exposing it locally so that you can test the stuff? Gonna be a bit tricky, but definitely worth trying. And of course, on the process, we are gonna be learning a lot of things. So where there is learning, we should be there. So coming back to this one, let it be done. Yeah, it's not getting done. So what time is it? How long has it been even? I don't. It's been 1 hour. Just 1 hour 18 minutes. Interesting. So okay, this has been pushed though. Just wait for a while. It should be done. ls. Okay, what is the next thing? Once it has been pushed, then I have to use that version here. What is up, bro? Close everything. And inside this manifest, I'm gonna be using the version number 6, not 65, just 6. And as for this environment variable, this is not quite needed right now, but good that we learned it. Good that we even created this environment variable here. Definitely it can be used inside the backend part, but of course not on the front end part. So I'm gonna be even deleting this whenever the right time is. As for now, let's simply delete this as well. I will just simply have this manifest and k cd ls cd ops ls cd not cd k apply f front end manifest. Let's simply apply this. K get ports namespace front end team. So I don't even need to talk about namespaces a lot. Simple stuff. Namespace mainly is responsible for categorizing categorizing everything, deployments, replica sets, pods, everything else. So this is running right now. Started 21 seconds ago. That simply means if I go to what? If I go to localhost 3000, localhost 3000. Okay, HTTP yes. K it is. I'm in the habit of going to localhost 3000. Frontend dot coding the code dot site. Alrighty, it seems to be working. Great job. What is the next thing? Oh, the next thing is it is already working. Okay, get SVSH. How many services I have over here? So ultimately I have two cluster IPs, DB cluster IP and this. I have the load balancer. And how about the services that belongs to the front-end team? So I definitely have a front-end team service. That's right. And then I can have a service for the backend team as well. There's gonna be nothing but the cluster IP only. So cluster IP for the front-end team, ultimately service for the front-end team, service for the backend team, service for the DB database, and then the load balancer for the Ingress service that I created. So this is how things are being managed. What is the next thing? Once these many things are done, then no need to worry about anything. We already have the front end, we already have the back end, and in the back end is actually talking to the database directly, so we don't even need to have the environment variables and all, and that's it. Hi bro, how are you? So let's simply clear the terminal right now, and once the terminal is cleared, what is the next thing that we have to focus on? There are two things that I can do. One more thing. How about trying this? Instead of using the whole URL, like whole service name plus namespace plus whatever that I used, let's simply use this backend service. This was the to-do, so I'm gonna be trying it right now, and hopefully it's gonna be working. So what I have to mainly focus on inside what? Inside backend is talking to the database, of course, and not even here, inside the backend app mainly, the main backend app. So where the image is actually built, backend is talking to the database. Of course I need to do it inside the backend only. So inside backend I have this DB service default. Default is the namespace over here, SVC cluster local. It mainly returns the host. What I'm gonna be doing, I'm gonna be just simply removing everything else, and just I'm gonna be having DB service. Let's see whether it works or not. Alrighty, so in that case I'll have to build the new image of the backend. That's sort of right. Docker images. I don't even have the image of that. Interesting. If I go to the hub.docker.com, hub.docker.com, so in here I have KTH frontend, KTH backend I have, but I don't know what is the version of the image, latest version. I'm gonna be adding one here. So for that thing, let me do one thing. ls cd, let me go to the backend part, and once I'm inside the backend part, docker gonna be building the new image, right? That's right. So docker build tag is gonna be unstoppable coder / kth backend :1. That's gonna be the important part over here from the current directory, and that is it. Let's see. Oh, it's gonna be quite quick. That's amazing job. That's what I wanted. Then docker. Docker images, just like this. I have this backend here. Control C, docker push. I'm gonna be pushing it to the Docker hub. It's gonna be pushed. Hopefully it will not take a lot of time. Yeah, it will not. So as it is pushed to the Docker hub, right now whenever I am applying the manifest of the backend, not Docker, backend actually, At that time I'm gonna be using the version 1. I hope that was version 1. Version 1. So that's what gonna be used over here, and hopefully it should be working fine. So cd ls cd and k apply. I'm gonna be applying the new configuration, ml configuration. So backend manifest.ml, and once it is actually applied, then well, I don't really need to go anywhere, I can check everything here. So k get pods, namespace is gonna be backend team, and let's see. Wow, crash. Interesting. What is the problem with this? The problem could be that backend 1, it is unable to pull it. Let me describe it. So k describe pod. This is the pod that I want to describe, and belongs to the backend team. Oh my god, you scared me with the message. Okay, by the way, bro, I am a technical document writer for the last 2 years now. I want to switch to DevOps. What should I do? How should I do? By the way, I started learning Docker, Nginx, Terraform, Redis, Ansible, Grafana. Well, the technologies that you mentioned here, out of them, I know about Docker, I know about Redis a little bit, I know about Grafana, I know about Prometheus as well. That's just like that. If you know about Grafana, so you would definitely know about Prometheus as well. But the thing is that you wanna switch and learn about DevOps. The best way can be find a teacher, like find anybody who is teaching that, and just simply follow that person. The another thing is that when you learn something, either you teach that to somebody or do what I'm doing right now. Go to YouTube, create a channel, and start explaining the thing. Seriously, it becomes so simple. Your mind will just open up. I mean, DevOps will be, forget about the DevOps. Beat any topic. If you are actually explaining that, somehow you are just explaining on your own or taking the help of AI, then again explaining. Things get so crystal clear that then you don't really need to worry about anything. You will be sure that you will never forget this. Okay, so do that. It will be definitely beneficial. And then let me know if there's anything I can help with. So by the way, coming back to this one, it is unable to pull the image. Backend team container pull the image created started successfully. Spec container backend back of a restart failed. Why am I getting this issue? What issue? Size is this. Ultimately, what happened? That successfully assigned a backend team to this IP address. Pulled the image successfully. Image size is this. Spec container backend successfully pulled the image. Pulling the image done. Created a container. Started a container. Successfully pulled unstoppable. And k8h backend this. In these many seconds, waiting image size this. Warning back off. 1 second. Kubelet container back off, restarting failed container back off in pod backend. I'm also learning a little bit about AWS by watching it. Do not watch my videos for learning AWS. I mean, it's not like I'm not covering the things there. You can actually find better videos on YouTube. Watch them where the things have been actually explained well. But the thing is that when I go through AWS, at the time I just simply go through the things what I need. Okay, so if I'm working on it, I mean, suppose Kubernetes section right now, so I'm gonna be going through only EKS section. So it is not like I haven't covered anything. I have covered almost everything what I know on my videos, but that is not properly configured, so that could be problematic. So it's better to just simply follow a teacher who has covered the things, and then go ahead from there. You can just simply watch my videos for the inspiration. That is the only thing. As for the learning purpose, things are not well structured here, honestly speaking. You can find far better things online. Back off restarting. Okay, by the way, coming back to this, why am I getting this issue again and again? Okay, it is backend, unstoppable the coder. Yeah. What does this back off error mean? Okay, get pods in and backend team. And by the way, do join the WhatsApp group. If there's anything, let me know. I would love to help. So yeah, keep learning and let me know if you ever get stuck with something. Crash loop back off. Back off restarting failed. What does this mean? Hi Sardar. What a name, username. How are you? Crash loop back off. Let me do one thing. Don't really getting the reason behind this, because I've done almost everything right. So inside manifest, this is the, let me even check this Docker image whether I have it here or not. Reload the page. And yeah, I have this particular image. The another thing is that as I have this image, how about the environment variable? Ah, got that. The problem is not in the image. Image is being pulled. I have just changed the name of what? I have just changed the name here. That simply means if I just log the, come on, I should be able to get it. I even forgot for a while that what I actually changed right now, and because of that thing I got stuck. And backend team pods. So these are the pods running, right? K logs. Let me check the logs of this. I've been just simply describing it. Backend team. And here we are. It is just simply saying what? Resolve, replace the stack, delete TCP, get. Honestly, nothing worth keeping note. Okay, but what I have changed recently over here, that is this PG. Okay, it does make sense. It is just simply saying what? It is saying that get address info inbound, get this app node modules PG pool index and all. So ultimately there is something wrong with the PG pool. That simply means database is not getting connected, and as the database is not getting connected, we have to make sure that we are giving it the right host. So this way it is not gonna be the right host. So I will have to make sure that DB service is the service name, dot default is the default namespace, dot svc dot cluster dot local, just like this. I hope it was just the same earlier as well. So default svc cluster dot local, that's right. So what it does, it just simply returns the host. So this is responsible for returning the host. If you are working with Kubernetes and all, you must have the idea. Coming back to this one, ls, let's simply apply it one more time. Before even applying it, I have to go to cd backend and let's build the image. Building the image in the sense, docker build tag is gonna be unstoppable the coder slash k8age backend colon 2. That's gonna be the name, kind of tag. I think that's the call tag name. So docker build this, do it, and hopefully right now I will not be getting the issue. So this thing is done. Docker push unstoppable the coder slash k8age backend 2. That should be fine. You are like aap KDR brother, APKDR. Who is that, by the way? APKDR. I'm sorry, I don't know. Really sorry for that. But if I can make a quick search on YouTube, if there's any YouTuber. How much is AWS cost you right now? Not at all. the thing is that on AWS you can actually create a new account with your I think UPI number only. It is possible. I created mine using UPI, and you get a $180 what free credits, man. So just simply keep using them. I still have my credits remaining. They are gonna be for how many days? Let me come here, AWS. I don't care about the credits. I have enough, and if it uh, goes over, I'm gonna be creating a new account again. Keeping that thing aside, uh, current month forecasted next month, how much I have. So how am I supposed to be checking this? You can create a new account. This is the next month. In this month I used $65 or something, that just for the learning purposes and all. So do create a new account. That would be better, so that you get the free credits, and in this way you will not have to spend money. Otherwise you will be tired of spending money. I forgot like how many credits I have right now. Interesting stuff. Literally I don't know. Earlier this was being mentioned there. Right now it is not. Last month's total forecast. Last month I did not use, but this month I used it heavily, really heavily. अरे किधर गया? Seriously? Why am I not able to see the credits? I had around 120 or something. $1 is still remaining, maybe 108 or something. And unfortunately I cannot really see that, and that is such a bad thing. Yeah, I should be able to see it from somewhere. Good idea, by the way, creating a new account. Yeah, that does work. I should not say it on YouTube, I don't know, but yeah, create a new account. I should not ask you to create many accounts, do not do that, but create a new account so that you get free credits and you can utilize them. And bill dashboard. Any idea why am I not getting the credits information here? I know that recently I changed something. I added a AWS identity. I was just simply playing with that, and then I have played now. Oh, what can I do? Current forecasted savings. Quick Google search. For every account we create, we get credits. That's right. Make sure that your account you don't get banned by AWS. Just keep this particular thing in mind. Remaining things are okay. How to see the credits remaining in a. Let me go to ChatGPT. How to see the remaining credits in AWS. Today I made some changes on my AWS, and because of that thing it is just simply AWS billing dashboard. In the left credits AWS billing dashboard. This is where I have to go. Okay. Alright, so AWS billing dashboard. Okay, close this. And go to billing dashboard AWS. And once I have been there, after that where I have to go, AWS billing dashboard. Billing dashboards. Once I'm inside this console. Okay, then billing, and I have to go to the billing section. Billing. Of course I have to log in for that here. I want to explore this as well. Let's forget about this. Then In the left sidebar, click on credits and coupons, and you will see this. Method 2, billing. So open the billing dashboard, bills, click bills. Okay, this bills, and scroll down, charged, credits applied, and Cost Explorer, AWS Cost Explorer. Guide me with proper steps. Literally. Option, okay. AWS billing dashboard. Go to this. I have to log in for this, or let me do one thing. Nope, not this one. Let me copy it and paste it here. Should be fine. This is the home page that I have. Oh, forget about this, yeah. Done with this finding credits. And log into your AWS account. In the top right corner, click on your account name, billing, and account management. Or that opens AWS billing dashboard. Billing and cost management. Yeah, bro, leave it. That's right. I'm gonna be figuring it out. I will figure it out. It's not like I will not. But credits, total amount remaining, $185. Last month. Redeem credit. How about this? This is not true. Do not believe it. Forget about this. I will be just simply going through it later. Let me just focus on the most important thing. As for the credits, I have over $100. Okay, so I can just simply use them blindly. I don't really care. Like, even if something is open, I don't keep the things open usually. I just because otherwise they just simply consume more credits. But yeah, I use the things freely without worrying about the credits. Okay, as for this thing, I will definitely be fixing this. Exactly why am I getting not able to see that? And the thing is that just in the morning I worked with this IAM identity. Yeah, this one. So I enabled this particular thing, and I think because of this particular feature, that credit related stuff got removed. But okay, whatever the reason is behind it, I will find that. Coming back to this one, ls. So what was I working on? The backend part, and on the backend part I just simply changed that, and then I was supposed to be pushing it. That is already pushed. What is the version of it? The version is 2. Come back here, backend version 2. Apply the configuration. Ls cd what? Cd ls. Okay, now I have to apply the configuration, ML configuration of the backend. So k apply, k stands for kubectl over here. Apply backend and manifest.ml. Let's simply run that. Done. Ls, and once this is done, then k get pods and backend team. Few pods are terminating and few pods are being created. Okay, the new ones are running right now. That simply means what? It should be working. That simply means if I go to https k8h backend dot coding code dot site slash users, here it is working. And if I go to the front end, https k8h frontend dot coding the code site. Alrighty, I can add even more names, and that's gonna be available over here. Okay, this much is done. I haven't added any delete option, so of course things are not gonna be deleted. Don't expect that, but overall things are working fine. Interesting. What is the next thing? The next thing is gonna be the super interesting thing actually. So far I've been discussing quite interesting, like the things related to the Kubernetes, and especially when you have a Kubernetes machine on by any AWS provider. But right now things are gonna be based on local stuff. So what I mean here, should I use Ingress over here or not? Ingress is something, look, I have created my own Ingress over here. So I have configured my own Ingress, and you can use Ingress for reverse proxy in Kubernetes, and that is kind of an API that you can just simply add in your Kubernetes. That is not default by Kubernetes, but you can just definitely integrate that. What is this project about, and what does it do? This project is about learning. I am trying to create a front-end, back-end database inside the Kubernetes cluster and trying to deploy that, checking everything exactly how it works and all, so that ultimately whenever you are working with any project you can easily deploy it. DevOps is mainly about deployment in the best way possible, and that's what I'm doing. I'm going through the DevOps part, so simply creating the applications. So I have my backend, I have my front end, and inside my cluster, inside my this is the Kubernetes cluster. Inside that I have the backend, I have the database, I have the front end, I have the reverse proxy that I have created manually, and then making them talk to each other, getting the things done. This is what is happening. Alrighty, what is gonna be the next thing? The next thing is that using Ingress over here, I'm gonna be using Ingress tomorrow. So let's focus on the Ingress main API tomorrow. So let's not worry about that today right now. One thing I want, that something interesting that's gonna be happening now. That is, this is the Kubernetes cluster. This is my Linux machine. I want to export the control plane, expose the control plane to the my local machine, so that I can make a request to this, and it will be responsible for sending the request to the reverse proxy or something. How will I make it happen? And in that case, reverse proxy needs to be exported using node. So let me do one thing. Few changes I'm gonna be making here really quick, because before that, let me do one thing. ls eks k get nodes. These are the two nodes by the AWS. I'm gonna be just simply deleting the cluster that I have. So eks ctl delete cluster. The name of the file is gonna be what is the name of the file here? AWS EKS cluster, EKS cluster, ekctl delete cluster. There should be n here probably. Yeah, it is deleting the cluster right now. So this way the cluster is gonna be deleted. So once I ran this command from here, the cluster will automatically be deleted on the AWS side. The question is, what am I gonna be doing now? K get nodes. I'm not getting any node right now, mainly because that particular cluster that I had, that is being deleted. So what am I gonna be doing? The next thing, that would be kind get clusters. Kind is mainly used for creating the clusters locally. I already have a cluster locally running, and k get nodes. I don't have any nodes. That simply means I'm not using that cluster. So k get config, no, get k config get context. I hope this is the right one. No, wrong. Config. Yeah. So it this particular command simply gives me all the clusters that I have, whether that are locally or the from some online provider and all. And I have this particular cluster right now. I'm gonna be using this. For using this, what can I do? K config use context. And what is the context? The name of the context is kind local cluster. So just run this. So it is switched the context to kind local cluster. That simply means kind get not kind get k get nodes. It should be just simply returning that. Now I'm getting the local cluster control plane, a local cluster worker. There are two workers, there is one control plane. Great. But this is not what I want. Why? Because it needs to be exported as well, right? So let me do one thing, k or kind delete cluster. The name of the cluster is gonna be local cluster. Let's simply delete this. So this is also going to be deleted. Close everything and collapse everything. Coming back to the oops, I have EKS, and apart from this EKS in the sense elastic Kubernetes service, I'm gonna be creating one more folder here. That's gonna be cluster or local cluster. Let's simply name it cluster. Okay, this cluster will have a local cluster.ml, and here I will be just simply defining it. What is the configuration for the local cluster? First of all, you can just simply write the normal command, and the second thing is the configuration. I already have it in my notes anyway, so I'm gonna be copying and pasting this stuff right now. Kubernetes CS clusters. This is the one. Yeah, again, few more things that I need to add here. So in that case, this is not the complete one. So in that case, AWS EKS elastic not this, not this. I have to expose it as well. Backend ML, not this, not this, not this. Namespace service. This is the one. So inside service, I'm actually exporting it, right? So I have to export my. I'm gonna be exporting all of them. Copy it. I'm gonna be making some changes here. I'm gonna be even telling you what it does. So kind cluster, I want to create a cluster. API version, this is gonna be the version. For that, nodes, I wanna have 3 nodes. The first node is gonna be the control plane, and extra port mappings. The node that I'm gonna be creating, that is again gonna be created inside the cluster. That will be the node port, the control planes port. The port is 30,007 over here. That's gonna be exported to the host port, probably 3007. Okay, for now, or let's make it 30,007, doesn't really matter. So the container port 30,007 will be exposed to the host port 30,007. Similarly over here, and that's gonna be extra port mappings, and container port 30,000. Let's make it 8. Will be exposed to host port 30,008. Similarly over here. Oh my God, Kubernetes do load balancing by default, or it is it just for checking cluster health and uses? If it's running on high resources, thereby it creates new clusters or containers. It does the load balancing stuff, by the way. You have to configure it exactly at which situation, in which condition it should just first of all, if there are many clusters, whenever the request comes to the load balancer, it automatically gets load balanced. So if there are 2 containers running, ultimately 2 pods running, sometimes the request will go to this and sometimes the request will go to this. So ultimately the request is going to be load balanced. And the another thing is that if many people start visiting your application, it will be spinning up new containers as well. So it also happens. All these features are available in the load like in Kubernetes. And not only that, there is a service from AWS called ECS, Elastic Container Service. This does the same thing. If you learn about this one, I mean from the AWS, that is ECS. From DigitalOcean, they will be providing some other services and all. But this ECS does the same thing, Elastic Container Service. That simply means it manages the container. It is responsible for running the container. The only difference is that this is dependent on AWS. So, and if you are going through it, you are actually dependent on AWS. You will anyhow have to use this. And Kubernetes is platform independent. That simply means you can use Kubernetes with AWS, DigitalOcean, Vultr, any service provider. So that is why people learn Kubernetes, so that they don't depend on somebody. And the another thing is that it provides more features and all, and that's it. but you can even learn, first of all I learned about ECS, then I learned about Kubernetes. So once you understand about ECS, how it works, it's easy to learn the Kubernetes, because Kubernetes does the same thing. So if you know how the things work on the ECS, on AWS, you will be able to get it better. So know about virtual machines, know about ECS, know about load balancers on AWS first of all before doing this here on Kubernetes part. Then learn Kubernetes, things will be smooth. By the way, coming back to this one, I have two these things, right? Let's see, one more thing, extra port mappings and container. I'm gonna be exposing this as well, port 30,009, and the host port is gonna be this is just for the testing purpose. So whatever I'm doing here, this you should never do. By the way, people never do it, because people never create a, I mean, you create a, use the kind for creating the clusters locally only in the development mode. In production mode, you are provided a cluster, I mean nodes automatically by those service providers. So this particular thing is done. As this thing is that now I'm gonna be creating the cluster. So ls, has the previous cluster been stopped? No, this is still getting stopped. Okay, that's been stopped. Great job. Exit. You want to load balancing manual, or is it just checking checklist? There is something called there are some conditions, like if suppose a CPU usage goes over 50% or something, a new cluster should be created and all. So that is the job of R2 scaling groups. So load balancing, ultimately if you talk about AWS, so there is something called R2 scaling group that is responsible for scaling up, scaling down and all. In Kubernetes, honestly I still have to learn how this scaling happens. You can scale manually, you can down scale manually, but this condition, like if the CPU load actually goes over 50%, the new new pod should be created. That is something I have to figure out over here in Kubernetes. I don't know that yet, but it does happen on AWS directly and definitely here as well. So coming back to this cluster, so k apply no, so local cluster.ml, and name is gonna be local cluster, kind create cluster, config cluster. This thing is done. So ultimately cluster is gonna be created. My facing the network issue, you are offline. Why bro, why am I offline? Let me reload the page. Okay, now it's fine. Why did you sorry, the page is getting reloaded. Okay, now it's back. Oh my god, so many things, but okay, never mind. I'll just simply have a look at them one by one. So the thing is that what I did is totally opposite. I started building my project by Java, Spring Boot, React.js, PSQL. After that, I started looking how to start DevOps on this end. I went directly to CI/CD using Nginx, reverse proxy, Terraform, Redis for login session handling. Whatever works for you, that's the best. Because it's my first time to exploring these things, so whatever it worked for me, kind of the path got easier, and you went to that path got easier for you. So yeah, things just go on. By the way, you do have a knowledge of many stuff here, many tech stacks and all. Great job. So ultimately you learned about Java and Spring Boot, React.js, PSQL. React.js in the sense, then you will know about JavaScript too. Good stuff. Keep doing that. Great job. Coming back to this one. So the cluster has already been created. So kind get clusters. So this is the cluster. K get nodes. So these are the 3 nodes that I have. They are even being exposed. That simply means, what? I can output should be wide. Yeah, now that makes sense. Oh, what have I done? Sorry. Now this is fine. So ultimately the version is here. Apart from the version, they have the IP addresses. This is the IP address, this is the IP address, and this is the IP address. That simply means hopefully using these IP addresses I should be able to talk to them. And then container this. So ultimately they are that is the internal IP address. That simply means using these IP addresses, those contain nodes can talk to each other. That's okay. And nodes, they do have the internal IP address. And as I'm exposing it, that simply means let's see what's gonna be happening anyway. So this thing is done. So if I send any request to this, so what will happen? Local host 30,007. Honestly, nothing happens. 30,007, that's already being exported here. 30,008. Well, there's nothing exported, so definitely it's not gonna be working. But I did manually, I saw AWS later and I was like, we have everything on it that required for me to host my applications via DevOps best practices. Yeah, that's right. AWS does provide a lot of things from its own side. So even you have ECS, so you don't even need to run the Kubernetes. You can just simply get the things done on the ECS. It automatically upscales, downscales and all. AWS handles that for you. So yeah, why not? But the thing is that then as a DevOps engineer, you need to know about this so that you can just don't be platform dependent. And once this is done, then there's one more thing that I have to do here. That is exposing it via node port. So reverse proxy that I have, the request will ultimately go here for sure. I have to even start this, but before even that, service, Ingress service, Ingress. This is the interesting stuff. So here the type is gonna be a node port. Let me open my nodes again really quickly. I have to go to the node port section over here. For the node port, type should be node port. So let me just simply paste the type over here. The another thing is that there should be port, there should be target port, there should be node port. Let me just simply copy them, and there's only one more thing is the node port is remaining and nothing else. And when it comes to the node port, this should be sort of like this. So node port and node port should be what? Node port should be 30,007 for now. Let's see how it's gonna be going on. Coming back to this one, this is not configured the best way. So this is the service of my this reverse proxy. This reverse proxy is running on port 80. So having port 80, ultimately this service, just a minute. This is the service that I'm getting, right? It itself is running on port 80. Target port is 80. That simply means target port in the sense this Nginx one. So that's fine. So the service I'm creating, that is on port 80. And node port is gonna be port 30,007. That simply means on port 30,007 it's going to be exported. So what am I doing here, or what have I done so far? That is, let me delete this. Ultimately, this is the reverse proxy, and it is by default running on port 80. Sorry, not reverse proxy. Reverse proxy is running on port 80. And then the another thing is that I created a service that is also running on port 80, and this service forwards the request to the reverse proxy, and as it is running on port 80 right now, so I have to send the request to this one. And by the way, this needs to be exposed using node port. So I used a node port to expose this, and hence this is going to be exposed on port 30,007 over here. Okay, so on 30,007 I have exposed this on the node. Now what will happen? Now if I send any request to 30,007, No, it is exported, I mean it is exposed inside the node, and I have exposed the control panel on the same. So localhost 30,007. So just a sec, this is being exposed, that is fine. As for the gonna be quite tricky, but definitely I'm gonna be doing it. This extra mapping that I'm doing over here, so ultimately control plane is being exposed locally as well. So container port is gonna be 30,007. Container port in the sense, which container port? This control container port. This is also container port. This is also a container port. So let me start everything and see how it works. Alrighty, walkie talkie. I mean, it's in the habit of saying that. So what I have to do? K get pods. I don't have any pods. K get nodes. I have the nodes. K apply backend. First of all, let's start the database first of all. So db manifest.ml. File name. Done. Then apart from this particular thing, what is the next thing? Backend. Start the backend manifest. Done. After backend, start the front end. Manifest. Done. After that, start the reverse proxy. So reverse proxy manifest ml. This is also done. K get pods. I have database running, I have Ingress running. Well, they are not running right now. Few things are still getting created. Container creating for Ingress. Okay, both of them are running right now. K get pods, that belongs to front end team. So I have my front end running and backend team. I have my backend running. K get services. I have this services running, so db service, Ingress service, both the services are running right now. Ingress service is doing what? Ingress service is actually exporting the things on port number 30,007. That is great. And K get services, that belongs to the front end team. Front end team. So this is the front end team service. Similarly, the service that belongs to the backend team. This is the backend. So this is the cluster IP service, cluster IP service, cluster IP service for the Kubernetes, that is created by default, cluster IP service for the DB as well. Ingress service is the node port service, that is actually exporting on the node on port 30,007. The thing is that you cannot directly talk to the node, that's right, that is inside the cluster. So you will have to export the cluster, ultimately those nodes. So those nodes are already exported. The question is, when I say K get pods and backend team, where is this running? So let's simply describe it. K describe pod. I'm gonna be describing this, control CV, and it belongs to the backend team right now, just like this. When describing this, everything is running, right? Yeah. Go to the top, and inside which cluster it is running? Local cluster worker. So it is running inside the cluster number 1. That's fine. Cluster number 1, that simply means cluster number 1 is running here, 30,008. So if I go to this, don't know what's gonna happen. Local host 30,008. What will happen? Nothing will happen. In that case, let me go to port 30,007. Getting something here. This is the, if I go to users, lovely, getting really good things here. So what is happening? Really interesting things are happening. By the way, I'm not able to access this directly for some reason. I'm just able to access this control plane, and when I'm exposing these as well, anyway, when I'm exposing these, so what is actually happening? Coming back to this one, I have the control plane, This is being exposed on port 30,007, and on my local, this is so the control plane is being exposed on 30,007 port, right? Just like this on my local device. Let me have a look at this here. So 30,007 port, 30,007 port, that is right. So ultimately the request comes to this particular control plane, and then this control plane is responsible for sending the request back to this 30,007 port, to the port which is exposed. So the request goes to the reverse proxy. Is that so? Okay. So ultimately this way it works. How am I supposed to be accessing my network issue? Network. Okay, now it's fine. So what I was saying, that I'm able to access this. How am I supposed to be accessing my front end? Because if I'm sending a request to this localhost 30,007, I'm just able to access this. So let me do one thing. Let me create port mappings just for my local device. So what I'm gonna say, that first of all, let me have one thing here, and that is the reverse proxy. This is actually gonna be com. So codingthecode.com for now, and let me make it com as well, because I'm gonna be changing this stuff. And for this thing I will have to start the reverse proxy. Okay, applying f reverse proxy manifest ml. So this is gonna be configured, and as this is configured, then that's okay, don't really need to worry about anything. So k get services. So ultimately this has been configured automatically, and it has the cluster IP, so we are not really worried about that. The thing that I am worried about, that is sudo vi /etc/hosts. If I go here, I'm gonna be adding the ID just for my use over here, the mapping, and that's gonna be on localhost 30,007 ktage frontend dot codingthecode.com. So whenever I send a request to the ktage frontend codingthecode.com, the request will be going to the localhost. This same one more time, localhost 30,007 ktage backend dot codingthecode.com. So whenever I send a request to ktage backend codingthecode.com, the request will actually be going to this. Hopefully it should be working, but let's see. Are you sure? Let's see, by the way, whether it actually works or not. So whenever I'm gonna be making a request to ktage backend dot coding the code.site com, continue this to this ktage backend coding the code.com. So ultimately I have to just mention the localhost here. Let's remove this, just localhost should be enough. So whenever I'm making a request to this, it is sent to the localhost, and the port number, how does the port number play the role over here? Okay, let's see. So if I'm making a request to this colon 30,000, sorry 30,007, doesn't seem to be working. ktage codingthecode.com colon 30,007. ktage codingthecode.com 30,007. The request goes to localhost. It doesn't really matter, like the request goes to this one. Oh, this is not the right IP address, right? So that's gonna be problematic, and it doesn't even have the port. So it's no use even doing this here. That sort of makes sense. So because even if you have to add the localhost, that's what is the use of doing it, right? Uh, in that case, I'd better just simply remove it. This is not that I need here. I thought that it would work, but no, it's not gonna be working. Alrighty, coming back to this, I have to make a request to localhost 30,007 only. So localhost 30,007 localhost 30,007 slash users, of course. But the question is, how am I gonna be getting the access of the front end? The front end is definitely there, and the front end is saying that if I get the request here on this particular one, then okay, in that case there's no way to get the front end directly until unless I actually keep the front end at the top. But then these I'm gonna be getting the front end, but the front end will not be able to get the response, so it's gonna be messy for sure. So the thing is that what I'm able to do, I'm able to expose it on the local host, I'm able to just get that, but the problem is with the routing stuff and all. How will you make sure that routing is getting done the right way? Because you don't have any IP address, you have just local host, and and the 3000 as well, how will you manage that? So ultimately, even if you have the IP address, you are going to be sending the request to that particular IP address, but just the IP address will not work, because sending the request to that particular IP address doesn't do the job. Rather, the port should be specified as well. Having said that, that is not the real IP address, that is nothing but the local host. So there are many problems, but yeah, you can definitely expose it. One thing is clear, it can be exposed, and somehow this whenever you send whenever you expose this, this is the only thing that is exposed, because if you try to access it, let me change the port number. Now the port number cannot really be changed though. Local cluster I have given them the proper port numbers, and the thing is that this reverse proxy is being exposing on what, this service is exposing on port number, let me see, it is exposing here port number 3007. Let me make it port number 3008 and see whether I am able to directly talk to port 3008 or not, because even that I am exposing that. Let's see. It's okay. Apply F cluster, local cluster ml, no, not this here, sorry, reverse proxy manifest, it's gonna be done. And if I try to make a request to localhost 8080 like sorry 3008, then what will happen? 3008, wow, $3007 is not working, but 3008 is still working. So it is like wherever you expose this, it will start working. 3000, if I say 9, it will never work, that is for sure, because 3009 is never ever there. So in that case, if I try to $30,007, there is nothing on $30,007, that means there's nothing on the control plane. 8 on 30,008 you are getting this, on 30,009 you are getting this. So except the controller you are getting it everywhere. So what is actually happening here, that you are exposing this on 30,009. Now you are sending the request to this, you are not sending the request to the control plane, because if you were sending the request to the control plane, because control plane is mounted to 30,007 only. So if there is something running on 30,007, only there the request will go. So if you are sending the request to the control plane, so the control plane will be forwarding the request to the same port that it is running on, and if it doesn't find that, it will not do anything. Right now, earlier it was running on 30,007, so it was just simply forwarding the request over here. Right now it is running on 30,009, so it is not forwarding the request. Apart from this particular thing, you have these 2 pods ultimately. So if you send a request to this pod even, or to even this pod, this will automatically, so whenever you are sending a request to a pod, if that request doesn't belong to that pod, that forwards it, because of course node ultimately. So if you are sending the request to this particular node, it will forward it to this one or to this one. So this forwarding thing happens, ultimately load balancing happens at the end of the day. So it is if I make it 110, then what will happen? 30,010 doesn't belong to any. Let's see what will happen. Yeah, now gone. Interesting. 30,007, 30,008, and 30,009 will not work. So ultimately, what is happening? I have 2 pods. Mainly 2 pods. K get nodes, 2 nodes ultimately, not even pods. So I have these 2 nodes. One of them is running on port 30,008. Another one is running on 30,009. So if you send any request to 30,008 or 9, and if something is running on 30,008 and 9, then of course the request will reach to the destination. Otherwise, it will not reach the destination. And as for the control plane, this is running on port 30,007. Okay. So what I mean over here, that coming back to this one, if I run it on port 30,009, just like this, and because there is a port worker that is running on port 30,009, so because of this thing, whenever I send to request to either 30,008 or 30,009, because these are normal workers nodes, they will be able to just simply forward the request. So even if I send the request over here, it will be, if the request does not belong to this one, it will just simply forward to this one. Or ultimately, to keep it simple, if you are sending a request to one port, it will load balance. That simply means sometimes it will handle on its own, it will, otherwise in the remaining time it will just simply forward it to the other as well. So this is what is gonna be happening. As for the control plane, if the control container port is 30,007, and if something is running on 30,007 port, then it will be just simply forwarding that. Okay, so this is how it just simply goes. So if I just simply apply everything, if I go to this one, 30,008 no result, 30,009 got the result, 30,008, so I'm only getting the result on 30,009 right now, and 30,007. Oh lovely, I thought I was getting the result, but it is even not like that. There is no load balancing happening. Let me run it on port 30,008. Reload it. I'm gonna be getting the result over here. 9 localhost 30,009. So 30,000. Okay, it's like backends are running on 2 ports. That's right. So when it comes to the backend, it is running on the two of them. So when I actually, there is this thing, you can directly access the port 2. So it's not like you cannot directly access them. Right now what is happening, if I'm not wrong, So I have 2 pods running, and 2 of them are running on both the sides. So the main reverse proxy that I have, that is running on port 30,008. But now if I go to 30,008, I'm able to get the result, and if I go to 30,009, I'm still able to get the result. And what is the reason behind this? The reason that I can think of right now, that is just the service, right? And simply forwards the things. So if I reload this, it works. If I go to 8, it works. If I go to 9, it works. If I go to 7, it doesn't work. Well, that's something wrong. If I go to 7, it doesn't work. So if I run it directly at 9, it will not work on 7. It will work on it. On which port it is running? It is running on 30,007. Have I applied that? Cluster.ml. Reload this. Yeah, it's been applied. Some kind of caching actually happens here. Okay, never mind. The thing is that sometimes this load balancing definitely happens. So whenever you send a request to one port, suppose you send a request to this one, so it will either it will handle it or forward it to the other one. So this load balancing just keep happening among the nodes. So this is something that happens, and if you are sending the request to the directly control plane, that can also work as a node and ultimately data node, and as that works as a data node or just normal work on, not work on node, but definitely that is the node at the end. So you can expose control plane as well, and that will, if that is running on port 30,007, it will find something running on port 30,007, will be forwarding the request there. Otherwise will do nothing. And similarly here, if you send any request, either it will handle it or it will just simply forward to the others wherever that particular port is available. This is how it simply goes. Pretty simple stuff. The thing is that we have quite done it, so nothing could be better than this. And ls clear everything, quite a lot of stuff. Okay, what is gonna be the goal of tomorrow? The goal of the tomorrow is gonna be pretty simple: going through the Ingress, learning about configs, learning about secrets, and once all these things are done, working on that Google Meet clone project, whatever the things are remaining, getting the things done. And this is how overall we are gonna be just simply calling it a day tomorrow. As for right now, let's simply call it here. Pretty good stuff here actually. Whatever we've gone through well. Wow, lovely. Alrighty then, I'm feeling sleepy now, but it's 1:12. That was it. It was great being here, and let me just, I don't even need to stop it. Let me simply exit from here and close everything. Alright everybody, so that was it for today. Now I'm gonna be catching up tomorrow. Until then, take care, bye bye, and see you. Keep coding. Bye bye.